It's time to come clean to my YouTube family and tell them about this new direction that I'm taking, that we're taking as a channel. The change has been rapid. It's kind of taken over in a way. I wouldn't say it's an unhealthy obsession, but it's changed the course of my life, changed the course of our lives in a really big way. I didn't expect to be overtaken by it as much as I have. It's my passion, my muse, my North Star. There's a saying in the yo community, yo-yo is life, the rest is just details. It's time to introduce my new YouTube channel, The Modern Yo-Yo Man.
So Sean's really gotten into yo-yoing. I think that's what you call it, yo-yoing. It's pretty much all he does these days, so I've really had to take on a lot of the farm chores. I'm trying to clean up the shed right now. It's just like all yo all the time. He says he can make a career out of it, being, I guess, like a professional yo-yo guy. I don't really know what that entails, but he's really excited about it, really enthusiastic about it, and we've always encouraged each other with our dreams, and this is one more dream of his, and so
I'm actually seeking sponsorship with a couple of the bigger companies in the yo-yo industry. We're still talking things out, we're still in negotiations, so I don't want to drop any names, but trust me, you've definitely heard of them. I got my first tournament next month in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I'm really stoked about that, really pumped. But the real moneymaker in this world is the middle school lunch assembly circuit. One of those big names I was telling you about, actually talked about putting me on their road team.
he says it's only a matter of time before he's raking in the big bucks, so I hope he's right.
Hey buddy, what is this? Yeah, that's right, it's a yo-yo.
Out here collecting eggs. You know, Sean doesn't really even come out here anymore, so I've just kind of taken this on. You know, we need eggs, we need protein, so I've been taking care of the chickens. You know what's really weird about this is he only even has one yo-yo, and it was like 50 cents at the Dollar Tree. Things just kind of aren't adding up. Oh, he wants meow meow.
Hey folks, as you probably realized by this point, none of this is real. This is an April Fool's joke. I'm not actually leaving everything to become a yo-yo master.
Thank goodness.
At least not yet.
Oh gosh.
So, from our family to yours, happy Easter.
And happy April Fool's Day.
A fitting message for their first day here. What do you think? I'm not going to be able to sleep until we take this dead branch down. I don't want it falling down. This is no longer just this quirky thing. The authorities are involved now, so... Hi everyone, I'm Sean the Modern Yeoman, and for those that don't know me, I live on an 11-acre farm here in East Tennessee with my wife and son. In that house, my parents, who live on the other side of the barn here, and my mother-in-law, who lives on the other side of the road over there. We've been doing this now for 3 years, and although we've learned a lot, we found that there's so much more that we don't know and that we need to learn. One of the mottos that we've developed along our journey is actually something that we got from a commenter here on the channel, and that's slowly. The idea being that it's okay to go slow. It's okay to take your time as long as you're moving forward. You don't need to pile in and get a ton of animals and do a ton of infrastructures right off the bat. Sometimes it's okay to take your time. We've been a living case example of that sentiment in action because I spent several years working a full-time job to help support my family. Now that we're in a position where I can't work full-time because my job essentially forced me out for not moving, I found a part-time job. And so part of the week I'm able to take on chores and homestead projects and kind of pick up a little bit of the slack from where I left off about 2 years ago. For those of you wondering, I did put out a video this past Wednesday. I typically try and put out a new video every Wednesday called Work With Me Wednesday, and I did this past Wednesday, but because of some copyright issues on one of the songs I was using, I had to take the video down, unfortunately. What did I do in that video? Well, there's a couple of different things. Probably the primary work that I did on this past Work With Me Wednesday was create these frames with hardware cloth, these wooden frames with hardware cloth. They're up there, they're kind of ugly. I may paint them like black or something so I don't see them, but they'll do what I need them to do, and that's keep birds out of this chicken coop. I also wanted to update you guys about the hole situation in our front pasture. Turns out that the county where I live, Knox County, Tennessee, actually has an issue with sinkholes. It's something that pops up or pops down, I guess, every couple of years. You see a big story about a giant sinkhole forming in this area. So Knox County actually has like a hotline for potential sinkholes, or if you suspect that you have a sinkhole, there's somebody that you can reach out to. There's an office that you can reach out to. And so I actually did that. I actually reached out to the sinkhole office, the sinkhole people. I think the technical term is geotechnical engineers. And so I sent them some pictures. I showed them some of the bigger holes that we have that seem to only be getting bigger and deeper. I mean, as an example, take a look at this big stick I just picked up. This thing goes down. Well, there's a knob on the stick, so it can't go down any further, but it goes down a ways. If I had a skinnier stick, these holes are just getting worse and worse. And so I can show, my hope is that this is something that's easily fixable and it won't break out into a sinkhole. But if it is, the authorities are involved. That sounds so menacing, but I really hope that they can advise me on what to do. I hope that they send somebody along and that they have some advice for me what I need to do. I think at the very least, we'll need to cut down this old dead sycamore tree that's sitting in the middle of our front pasture. But yes, like I said, this is no longer just this quirky thing that we have going on in our front pasture. The authorities are involved now. So haven't heard back from them. I just reached out to them yesterday. Again, sent them pictures, and hopefully they'll get back to me soon. And ideally, fingers crossed, they send somebody out here who says that there's an easy solution. So we'll keep you updated. But in the meantime, these holes are crazy. They just seem to be getting bigger, and they're all kind of concentrated around this sycamore tree. So we'll keep you updated. So the time has finally arrived to move our chicks that we hatched out here, eggs that we got from the Kramer Life. For those that didn't watch, we incubated 12 eggs and 11 hatched out successfully. One may have just not been fertile, but the 11 chicks that hatched out for us have all been very healthy. They've been growing well, and I think it's fair to say that they've outgrown their brooder. Why don't you tell me? Take a look at how big these guys have gotten. Most of their feathers are in. Their wing feathers and their tail feathers. There's still a lot of down. But as you can see, they're quite large. At this point, it doesn't make any sense to keep them in here. I'm going to get them set up in the A-frame out in the south lean-to with the other chickens. They'll be quarantined away from the other chickens, but still next to them. They'll have that border of the hardware cloth in the A-frame. So they can see the other chickens, they can interact with the other chickens, but they're still safe from the other chickens bullying them. I'm also going to put the heat lamp in there just to give them extra warmth at night. We'll still have nights in the 40s, maybe even 30s in the next few weeks. So I do want to give them an option for heat in there as well. There are a couple of other things I want to do to set up their A-frame and make sure that it's ready for them, but now is the time, my friends. I hope you're excited. They have never seen the outside. Well, they've seen it, but they've never been outside. They've either been in the incubator or in this brooder their entire life. This stock tank has worked great for me as a brooder for several years now. It's not big enough to where I can keep the chickens in much longer than a month. I'd say a month, more like 3 weeks. I forget how long it's been with these guys since they hatched out. 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. Time is really weird now, but it's great for smaller chicks, but when it's time, and now it's time. Let me get your food and your water. As much as it feels like spring during the day, the night temperatures remind us that we're still in March, technically. Early April, in that it's not quite super warm enough yet. So one of the things I'd like to do when I'm setting up their A-frame is set up a windbreak to help keep some of the wind out. One thing I was thinking about doing was putting some bales of straw on the other side, but knowing our chickens, they would love to just rip those bales of straw apart. Okay, guys, you're not going to be happy about this. So one of the things I've thought of doing instead, just kind of improvising, is using some of these wooden panels and putting them right here where most of the wind would come in, and just having these serve as temporary makeshift wall. Part of me wanted to actually fashion a permanent wooden wall right here, but I don't want that for most of the year. Most of the year I'd like for this to be open. So let's see how this works. It needs to be stable. That's the first order of business. There's one side. Again, just a temporary windbreak. One thing I could even do is put some cinder blocks down here to give it a little bit more stability. But you know what? Now that I think about it, I'm wary of cinder blocks just because I don't want the birds falling in there and not figuring out how to get out. Those chicks are big enough to where they'll probably be able to do it. So I'm going to stack them like this instead. Okay, that's a nice little cloister. And then I'll probably hang the heat lamp right here. I run this outdoor extension line in from the barn, from a plug in the barn, and we'll connect this to the heat lamp. It's a method I've used now for several years, and so far it's been effective. So I think I'll keep this right here. Maybe a little higher, probably right there. And there's several steps I take to make sure that this thing is as secure to this wooden post as possible, so that even if for some reason one aspect of it comes loose, there's 2 or 3 redundancies, there's 2 or 3 backups to keep it posted to this thing. Could you have guessed that one of those redundancies is zip ties? If you've watched this channel for any length of time, you know how gaga I am about zip ties. They're very, very easy to use. And they're surprisingly strong. You can get them in different strengths and gauges. Okay, so that thing's married to this. It's not going anywhere. And why not add another one? Let's do it. If I need to, I can move this. Well, I'd have to take the zip ties off. But I think this is a good height for the chicks, and I can move the angle of it if necessary. I think what I'll do is probably point it in that direction and then wrap this around a couple times. Again, this isn't going anywhere. What I will do, just wrap it to this other bar just to be on the safe side. Up here, come around. Boom, there you go. This thing is solid. It's not going anywhere. And our chick friends, our teenage chickens, will have a nice place to hang out when it gets really cold. But I suspect they'll be doing more exploring. I can move it there, actually. I think that might be good. All right, let's get them moved in. Are you guys curious? What in the world is going on here, huh? What's happening? Is that gonna be solid? Or will I need something a little more? Okay, they've got their food, they've got their water, which I'm a little suspicious about the security of this thing. But I'm gonna give it a shot. And so now it's time to introduce the teenage chicks to their new living quarters. You guys ready to meet your new neighbors? You're gonna love them, I promise. The moment you've been waiting for. Well, maybe not waiting for. I don't think you really knew what was gonna happen. But you will soon. These chicks are big enough to where I wonder if I can move all 11 of them at once. Look how big these friends are getting. They're getting large. It's a short trip. I'll see how many I can do at once. Oh, these are some beautiful chickens. 6, 7, 9, 10, 11. It's time, my friends. Let's do it. Okay, I set them on top of the coop because everyone decided this is the time they want to move in. So I'm gonna have to get these guys out of here. It prove to be an interesting exercise. All right, guys, scram. Let's go. Oh, shucks. I should have shut the door. Come on, let's go. Out we go, out we go. Come on. Ugh. I wasn't thinking. The box just barely fits in, and you guys are free. Welcome home. Come on. There we go. There we go. As I was moving this thing out, this Lowe's box sign popped out that said, "Welcome home." A fitting message for their first day here. What do you think? All right, now I gotta shut this door. Let's shut you in. What do you think, friends? You made it. Water. We've arrived. We're here. And they're quite shocked and curious about their new situation. I think they're pretty happy. I may spend some time working on this arrangement here. The cinder block's solid, but I don't want there to be a world where it tips over. I don't think that will happen. I'm glad I left space on other side of these panels. I was initially thinking of just closing them off, but I want to leave the space so they can, if they go over the panel, they can come back around so they don't get stuck back there. They're in place. They've got food. They've got water. I'm going to check on them here throughout the day for their first day and see how they're doing, but I think we're in a good place. I think they're going to like this a lot. And they'll probably be in here for, I'd say, a month before I let them loose and join the flock, but we're off to a good start. So one of the things I also discussed in the previous video, got deleted, was this branch, this dead branch that's hanging right over our driveway. This concerns me because this driveway happens to be one of young Henry's favorite walking paths. So I'm not gonna be able to sleep until we take this dead branch down. I don't want it falling down. And so before we attempt to cut it with the pole saw, hey Dad.
Hey.
Dad brought up a good idea. Why don't we throw a rope over it, and if it's truly rotted away and dead, we should just be able to yank the thing down. So before we attack it with the pole saw, we're going to attempt to pull it down. So let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
Oh!
Got it on the lower branch.
Lower branch.
Oh, I hear something.
That works.
So I had the camera pointed up at the limb because I didn't think it was going to fall. But as you saw, it fell and it crashed here. And it's going to be a pretty easy cleanup. We're just going to move it over to the fire pile. There's still a little bit hanging up there, but that's not hanging over the road. And it's a short little stub that I'm not too...
And it's not really weighed down by the limb itself.
Yes. So Dad, that thing, you just gave it a few tugs and it didn't take much.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of resistance to it, so it wasn't tough. We're like we're in a company.
Yeah, I know. Higgins and Sons or something.
Or Higgins and Dad.
Yeah,
either way you want to.
Henry's right over there with Nana Jana. It gave pretty easily, which kind of confirmed my suspicions that thing was dead and it was a danger.
Heavy.
It came crashing down. You saw the first part of the trajectory, but this is the aftermath. It crashed. So we're gonna move this. Oh, before we do, there is these nasty thorns growing out of this orange Osage tree. Check this out. Let me zoom in on these. They're all kind of emanating from this stump right up here. Yeah. And you can see how sharp these things are.
Happens to be Good Friday.
Oh,
so
I know. I
there's
just now made that connection as you were saying that. Yeah. This is a seasonally or a holiday appropriate thing here on Good Friday, the thorns here. So we're gonna try and use the pole saw to kind of work at them and cut them down because they're quite menacing looking. Well, after some pokes and some interesting choreography, I was able to get the thorn branches into a pile here in this burn pit, which obviously this burn pit's not ready to go right now. It's been a year and a half since we used it. So I'm gonna give this thing a weed whack, a trim, maybe pull back the cinder blocks, clean it up, and then burn this devil bush as quickly as possible because it is gnarly. It is sharp and dangerous and menacing, and it's got to burn soon. One quick update on our friends here. As you can see, I turned the cinder block back on its side. It was wobbling. The other one isn't wobbling, and it's blocked by this cinder block, but it was wobbling, and I don't want to take the risk of it falling on the chicks. So I turned it on its side, and I filled it with hay. In the meantime, they've been very curious, walking around. They've mostly been kind of sticking around this one spot where the heat lamp is. That's their home base, but I've watched throughout the day and they've kind of gradually started exploring more, and they are pretty birds, man. I'm really glad that they can stretch their legs now and get a taste of fresh air. I think that's a turkey egg. What do you guys think? Lenny thinks so too. Thanks for hanging out with us today. We hope you enjoyed our little skit at the beginning. That was really fun to make. Keep your fingers crossed about the whole situation in our front yard and that the sinkhole people, the geotechnical engineers or whatever they're called, get back to us soon. We're hoping that it's something minor and something that's easy to fix and not a giant sinkhole. Maybe it is, and maybe it turns into a pond. I'm not sure. Either way, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us as always. So, until we see you again next time, remember, slowly, slowly.